friends. Welcome to day 4 of Exodus chapter 23. I'm just so thankful that you're here. Here we are. We've reached the very end of the scripture passages that we cover in book 2 of our Exodus series. Now, obviously, the book of Exodus in our Bibles is just one book. It's not broken up into 3 books, but for the sake of publishing, for the sake of being able to work with this book, we have broken up the study into three separate units, 3 separate books. We've made it a series. And what we see today actually just sets us up. It's a springboard into book 3. And I invite you to continue on. I'll talk about this more the next couple of days as we wrap up this chapter and we do a wrap up for book 2. But I want to invite you to Exodus book 3, where we really are going to learn about how does the Lord command his people to serve him, to worship him. And we see today is a springboard for this. I think the main point for today was verse 25, where God says, "You shall serve the Lord your God." And if we put that, if you like me, put that serve into your keyword column, you found like me, it means to worship. It means to worship the Lord. You shall worship the Lord your God. And then the Lord goes on to say all that he will do on their behalf. But they must worship him. And they must not what? Well, we saw that too. God makes it abundantly clear. Verse 24, "You shall not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do as they do, but you shall utterly overthrow them and break their pillars in pieces." Like, you're going to utterly overthrow these carved images. This goes back to those 10 words that God gave in Exodus chapter 20, right? This goes back to, "You shall not have any carved images before you." That was Exodus chapter 20, verses 4 and 5. "You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children's children." But he says he will bless to 1,000 generations those who serve him. But we have this strong language in regards to the people that are currently living in this land of Canaan. And this is not an exhaustive list, but here are some of the peoples listed in verse 23. And God said he's going to destroy them. And I stopped and I asked that why question. Why? We have learned, wow, God is a God of grace. He's a God of mercy. He is a God who is slow to anger. This seems different. Is this different? And as I sat and pondered, I was like, I don't think this is different. I would love it if you were sitting right here, that we might have a discussion about it. Listen, okay, the people back in, if we put on our ancient Near East Israelite glasses, or just all the peoples living in the ancient Near East, they don't have cell phones like we do. They're not texting messages and sending pictures to one another. But that doesn't mean that the word does not get out. This is this land of Israel down to Egypt. This is a popular trade route. People are traveling this route all the time. And so the name of Yahweh surely goes before him. All that God has done in Egypt, these people have heard about him. They've heard about Yahweh. They've heard about the people of Israel and how the Lord has rescued them, how he has saved them, how he has utterly destroyed the land of Egypt and the people of Egypt. There's been utter destruction. Has this caused the people in Canaan to pause and think about and be curious about who this God Yahweh is, it doesn't appear so. No, they are continuing to worship their little g gods, their carved images, and to bow down to these carved images, which is an absolute abomination to the Lord. He will have no other gods before him. He's made that known in the land of Egypt, and he's made that known throughout the entire ancient Near East has heard about Yahweh and what it is that he has done. So as I sat on it, I'm like, they've had warning. They've had warning of who this God is. Do they have a choice? I believe they do have a choice to be curious, to ask, who is this God? We want to know this God. We're afraid. Tell us, how do we know this God that we might bow down and worship him? That's not the case. They continue to bow down to their gods. And now, as God leads them into this country, he will not have his people this is his treasured possession, who he has said, look, I am setting you apart to be a kingdom of priests, to be a holy nation. I can't have you bowing down to gods, to carved images. This cannot be. This cannot be. And so the main point, verse 25, you shall serve the Lord your God. Friends, I hope you looked up some of the cross references for this and for this word serve. Deuteronomy 6:13 says, it is the Lord your God you shall fear. Him you shall serve. And this doesn't go just for obviously Yahweh is the God of the Israelites. Here's the people he has rescued. But he is doing this, that he has rescued them. He is setting them apart, that all the nations might know him and serve him. All right, Deuteronomy 10:12. This was my favorite one. And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you but to fear the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul? I love that, friends. I was like, wow, there's a verse to put put in my heart, to memorize and have here in my heart. What does the Lord require? He just wants us to walk in his ways and to love him. He wants our obedience. He wants all of our heart and all of our soul. And he deserves it, doesn't he? He has rescued these people. He's been leading them and guiding them and protecting them. And they didn't have to lift a finger to deal with their enemies. And he's assuring them, look, even as you go into this land I am taking you, you will not have to lift a finger. I will do all this. Did you see how many times God said, I will bless. I will fulfill the number of your days. I will send my terror before you. I will throw into confusion all the people against whom you shall come. I will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. I will send hornets before you. Little by little, I will drive them out. I will set your border. I will give the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. Do you see all that the Lord will do? And I put, wow, this work is the Lord's work. This is the Lord's work. It's almost like if we go back to Exodus chapter 14, where this study or this book began, we would just see, wow, Moses' words. Look, stand firm, or do not fear, stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. And he reminds them, look, you do not fear. You have only to be quiet. You have only to be quiet. God continues this kind of work such that these people, they don't have to lift a finger. They don't have to lift a finger. Friends, what is their work? And I think this is applicable to us today. Their work is to serve the Lord, to worship Him and Him alone. That is their work. And then He commands them to utterly destroy these idols. And I think we might think about that as well and allow God to search our hearts for anything that we might be, any grievous idol. We have our own grievous idols today. They look a little bit different than they did back in the ancient Near East, but we all have a tendency to bow down, to serve, to worship other things. Oh, no, God does not want us striving, friends. He only wants hearts that love Him, hearts and souls that love Him and serve Him and worship Him alone. Oh, friends, do you see how He is setting us up to learn a little bit more, to take time to ponder, okay, Lord, what does it look like to serve You and to worship You and worship You alone, to not forget who You are and what it is that You have done. Anybody else curious to know more? I am. But for today, I am asking God to search me and know me. See if there are any grievous idols in me that need to be utterly overthrown. I want Him to have all of me, all of my heart, and all of my soul.